From the 10th Avenue Extension, Greater Estate, this is MBN TV, your mega broadcasting network, coming to you live with the mega news at 6. The news is also live across our social media handles on MBN 360. My name is El Samuels. The headlines.
NPP demands updates on Galamsey petitions against Yamin and Abanga. In business, SEC engages CSA over reported CWPC investment scam. And on the international front, Zimbabwe rejects calls to expel South Africans amid xenophobia attacks.
Details of the stories and more coming up. The New Patriotic Party, the NPP, has questioned the status of petitions filed against the National Democratic Congress national organizer Joseph Yamin, the party's third vice chairman, Abanga Yakubu, following the conviction and sentencing of its Ashanti Regional Chairman, Bernard Mchibosia, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi.
The development comes after the High Court in Accra sentenced Chairman Wontumi to 20 years imprisonment on each of the 2 counts for which he was convicted in the Akonta mining illegal mining case. The sentences are to run concurrently. The court also fined him 10,000 penalty units on each count. Akonta Mining Limited, which was convicted on 2 counts, was fined 15,000 penalty units on each count. Addressing the press conference on Monday, July 20, NPP General Secretary Justin Kodia Frimpong questioned why petitions and allegations involving some NDC officials had not received similar attention. He argued that accountability should be applied equally regardless of political affiliation and called for transparency on the progress of the petitions involving the NDC officials. Mr. Kodia cited allegations involving Ahafo Ano South East MP Mohammed Yakubu and the district chief executive for the area. He further questioned the status of allegations against the NDC Member of Parliament for Awin, Oscar Ofori-Labi. According to the NPP General Secretary, the fight against illegal mining would only be credible if allegations against all persons, regardless of political affiliation, were investigated. Mr. Kodia also urged the government to focus on what he described as more pressing national challenges, including illegal mining, flooding, and security threats.
What has become of the petition submitted to Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, seeking an investigation into allegations concerning Mr. Joseph Yamin, the NDC national organizer, and Abanga Yakubu, vice chairman of the NDC? We are asking these questions. Mr. President, what has become of those investigations? What has happened to Honorable Mohammed Yakubu, NDC MP for Ahafo South, Ahafo South East, and his DC who was sacked from a chief's palace after they alleged that he was heavily involved in Galamsey in their traditional area? What happened to the NDC MP for Awin, Honorable Oscar Ofori-Labi, who was accused by the chiefs and the people of Awin, as well as Ghana's coalition against Galamsey, for engaging in Galamsey? Why has the nation not witnessed the same level of urgency and determinations in those matters? Justice cannot be selective. And I repeat, justice cannot be selective.
Away from the press, also, the New Patriotic Party has announced plans to challenge the conviction and sentencing of its Ashanti Regional Chairman, Bernard Mchibosia, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, describing the High Court's decision as unjust and unsupported by the evidence presented during the trial.
The party's General Secretary, Justin Kodria Frimpong made the announcement while addressing journalists after an emergency National Executive Committee meeting convened in response to the judgment delivered in the Akonta Mining illegal mining case. Justin Kodria argued that the court failed to properly consider evidence that, according to the party, exonerated Chairman Wontumi. He maintained that there was no basis for the conviction and assured party supporters that the legal battle was far from over. There is no justification for the judgment since the judge obviously ignored clear evidence exonerating Wontumi. The New Patriotic Party stands firmly with him. Our legal team has already commenced the necessary steps to challenge this judgment through the appellate process, he stated. Beyond the legal challenge, the NPP accused the government of pursuing selective prosecutions in its fight against illegal mining, insisting that the campaign lacked credibility if it was perceived to target only members of the opposition. The fight against illegal mining cannot be credible when it targets only persons from the opposition. Ghanaians expect leadership that demonstrates urgency, competence, and an unwavering commitment to protecting lives, livelihoods, and national security, Mr. Kodria said. He further accused the government of attempting to divert public attention from more pressing national issues through politically motivated prosecutions. The General Secretary also described Chairman Wontumi as a political prisoner, assuring party faithful that the NPP would continue to support him throughout the appeals process.
Let me assure all members of the New Patriotic Party and the good people of Ghana that Chairman Wontumi is not alone. There is no justification for the judgment since the judge obviously ignored clear evidence exonerating Wontumi. The New Patriotic Party stands firmly with him. Our legal team has already commenced the necessary steps to challenge his judgment through the appellate process. The NPP considers Wontumi a political prisoner. The NPP considers Wontumi a political prisoner. The NPP as a political party considers Wontumi a political prisoner.
The High Court in Accra on Monday sentenced Chairman Wontumi to 20 years imprisonment on each of the 2 counts on which he was convicted in the Akonta Mining illegal mining case. The sentences are to run concurrently. In addition to the custodial sentence, the court fined Wontumi 10,000 penalty units on each count. Akonta Mining Limited, which was also convicted on 2 counts, was fined 15,000 penalty units for each count.
Away from the corridors of power, now we move to the Education Ministry, where the Minister of Education, Haruna Idris, has appealed to parents and the public to give him 1 more year to address long-standing challenges with a computerized school selection and placement system, promising reforms will make the process more transparent.
Speaking at the Government Accountability Series, the minister acknowledged persistent concerns over senior high school placements, admitting that inadequate infrastructure and growing demand have made it difficult to eliminate the challenges. You may have to give me another year, then I'll be better off in resolving the school placement issues, he said. He disclosed that a committee has been established to review the placement system to ensure school admissions are based on merit rather than favoritism or political influence. We have had to set up a review committee of the placement system itself and to subject it to questions. Does it respect merit, and is it done on the basis of favoritism and politicians taking advantage of it to reward protocol and not merit, he stated. According to the minister, the government intends to introduce a more open and transparent placement process under which candidates will select their preferred senior high schools only after the release of their BECE results. He further announced that the results of the 2026 Basic Education Certificate Examination (BECE) are expected to be released on or before July 31, paving the way for the school placement process to begin. He stressed that the release of the results remains the responsibility of the West African Examinations Council, WAEC, insisting that he would not interfere in the work of the examining body.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press, I should admit that within the next few weeks, the BEC results would be released. In fact, as I've always indicated as minister, I don't interfere with the work of assessment institutions of WAEC. It is within their domain. But I'm reliably informed by the Director General of GES that on or before 31st of July, the BEC results may be released. I'm sure when it is released, many of you will find a minister hiding, chief director hiding, deputy minister hiding, because you are not able to respond to the demand and needs of parents and to the demand and needs of people or our learners in our secondary schools. Justifiably so. In truth, we have not had the resources to respond head on to this challenge. In order to resolve it, we need adequate resources to expand infrastructure by way of classroom blocks and then lecture theaters. That is why the STAR-J was introduced. So you may have to give me another 1 year, then I'll be better off in resolving the school placement issues. I understand that some sensitization work is ongoing between the Free Senior High School and the CSSPS Secretariat to get parents aligned. We had to set up a review committee of the placement system itself and to subject it to questions. Does it respect merit? And is it done on basis of favoritism and politicians taking advantage of it to reward protocol and not merit? That is being corrected, and we intend to run an open, transparent placement system. Accordingly, that is why we have revised the CSPS Technical Committee, and we have requested that into this year, BEC students would only make a determination of the choice of school after the results are declared. So you've seen the Director General of GES publicly state, so parents take note, on the weight of the aggregate of your son or daughter, you would know where that daughter or the son belongs. But we endeavor to improve the quality across the country.
And that does it for the major stories on the local front. Now we move straight to the business desk, where the Security and Exchange Commission, SEC, has stated it is engaging the Cyber Security Authority, CSA, over reports that thousands of Ghanaians may have lost millions of cedis in an alleged investment scam involving Creative Worker Promotion Company, CWPC.
The reported collapse of the online platform, which surfaced over the weekend on social media, has left investors unable to withdraw their funds, triggering fresh concerns over the proliferation of unlicensed investment schemes operating in Ghana. In an interview, Deputy Director General of the SEC, Mensa Thompson, said the Commission has scheduled discussions with the CSA to determine how to respond to the reported activities of CWPC and other platforms that have generated complaints from the public. He noted that SEC received reports about CWPC over the weekend after previously receiving complaints about their platforms, including Yebit and Bontract. He said the two institutions are expected to develop a coordinated response to fraudulent investment schemes that continue to attract funds from unsuspecting members of the public. SEC's engagement with the Cyber Security Authority comes amid growing concerns over the use of social media personal referrals, and trusted individuals to promote investment platforms whose legitimacy may not have been independently verified. According to Mensa Thompson, fraudulent schemes are increasingly using known personalities and ordinary individuals as a marketing tool to make their platforms appear credible. He said some of the schemes also require investors to recruit new members before they can access returns, a model that can rapidly expand the pool of potential victims. He cautioned investors not to assume that a platform is legitimate simply because it was recommended by a friend, colleague, or another trusted person. Mensa Thompson said investors must establish who is behind a platform, confirm whether it is licensed by the SEC, and be cautious of schemes promising unusually high returns.
Away on the international front, Zimbabwe government has rejected calls to expel an estimated 25,000 South Africans living in the country, distancing itself from retaliatory measures and also raising concerns over xenophobia in South Africa.
The issue was raised during the parliamentary debate on the growing number of Zimbabweans returning home from South Africa, where migrants have increasingly faced anti-foreigner sentiment and periodic xenophobic attacks. Responding to the debate, Justice Minister Ziyambi said Zimbabwe would not respond by targeting South Africans residing in the country. He told Parliament that the government would continue to welcome foreign nationals who are legally in Zimbabwe, stressing that the country's approach would be guided by the principle of Ubuntu. We do not have a policy of chasing away visitors, Ziyambi said. His remarks come against the backdrop of recurring xenophobic tensions in South Africa, where foreign nationals have at times been blamed for crime, unemployment, and pressure on public services, leading to calls for mass deportations and occasional violent attacks. Meanwhile, Health Minister Douglas said the government has screened more than 99,000 Zimbabweans returning from South Africa for communicable diseases at border posts. He added that returnees living with chronic medical conditions have been linked to healthcare services to ensure they continue receiving treatment. Zimbabwe's decision not to retaliate against South Africans reflects its commitment to protecting legally resident foreign nationals, even as migration and xenophobia continue to shape relations between South Africa and other African countries.
And on this note, we've come to the end of this morning's news at 6, coming to you from our studios on the 10th Avenue Extension, Greater Estate. But before we take leave of you, let's take a second look at the stories making headlines.
NPP demands updates on Galamsey petitions against Yamin and Abanga. In business, SEC engages CSA over reported CWPC investment scam. And on the international front, Zimbabwe rejects calls to expel South Africans amid xenophobia attacks.
Thanks for staying with us. For more news, log on to MBN 360. My name is El Samuels. Coming up, we'll bring you the sports update. Good morning.